We'll be right back after these messages.
We have behind this screen to my left here a bit of gold, and we're going to give you a demonstration on how you can acquire for yourself some of the most precious commodity in the world, the glittering stuff, because we have a real live prospector with us who's going to show us today how to pan for gold. If you've been reading the papers, you know it is the biggest weekend sport now in America, and a lot of idiots on my show here have been out panning. They all have colds and wet shoes. I'm looking at one with his hand up right now. Panning for every weekend. He leads the group. First of all, would you remove the screen? Ladies and gentlemen, here's $1.5 million worth of gold sitting right here. Just look at that. Okay? Ready. Here we go. It's in every shape and form, the vials, as you can see. This is all stuff that has been prospected by the gentleman you're going to meet after this commercial here in America. It is very exciting. And you'll meet Prospector George Massey right after this commercial break. Soaring to phenomenal heights. Now is the time to get your hands on some of the glitter. My first guest suggests that we just go out and prospect for it ourselves. That's what he does. He's George Massey, president of the Gold Prospectors Association of America, and he's here to show us how he looks for and finds gold in them thar hills. Here's the old prospector himself, George Massey. George? Hello, prospector. There's a happy-looking man, would you say, huh? Are you a happy man?
Oh, you better believe it.
How much have you panned, approximately in weight?
Merv, there's been more gold through my pan than I weigh.
Are you serious?
Uh-huh. And I'm overweight.
Just keep that weight coming there, George. For example, is this the gold that you would buy in a store? I mean, is this a different price than what we read in the papers? I mean, is this approximately in the $600 or the $700 or the $800 an ounce?
Oh, no, this gold is worth a lot more than the bullion price. The
Why?
price that we read about. Because it's very desirable for jewelry. It's unique in the fact that it's got impurities in it, and the impurities are rare earths and platinums and stuff like that, so it can't be duplicated. And it's original. There's no two nuggets alike.
Are they from different states in America? For example, show me some.
Yes, it is. This here is from California.
Can you see that?
Uh-huh. This is all California motherlode gold. A lot of that was taken in the Stanislaus River out of Sonora.
Write that down. Stanislaus River outside Sonora.
And a lot of that area is open.
But I
Anybody
thought all that stuff was mined out. There's no more... Huh?
Well, there's a lot of the nuggets that's been taken, but the fine gold, less than 5% of it's been taken.
Mm-hmm. Show me other states.
Okay, this here is Oregon. This is some gold that came from Oregon.
That's almost finer looking than this.
Yes, it is. The larger nuggets are, of course, in the motherlode country and up in the Yukon. Each one of those pieces is worth, $15 to $20 a piece.
Each one of those?
That's the way the old guys used to get it. They'd keep it underneath their fingernails, and
I'd have just known that.
they'd high-grade the miners.
I'll be darned. Each one of those little pieces?
Uh-huh. They use them for inlaying on jewelry and bracelets and stuff like that, and for earrings, that size.
Is there carats involved with this? I mean, is that 24, 18 or what?
Yeah, it's not pure. It runs between 20 and 22 carat.
Oh, boy.
But the impurities are worth a lot more than the gold itself.
What's that stuff?
This is some gold that's still embedded into the rock. This comes from the Mount Lily mining mill, and you can see the gold that's still in there. That's quartz.
You know, as a kid, George, we used to spend summers up at the Sonora and Placerville, and I remember walking up there the hills, and I saw this kind of stuff with gold in it, and I can remember even running back with a big pan of it and saying to my family, I found gold, but they called it fool's gold.
Well, there's a real easy way to test it to find out whether it's gold or not. There's a chemical called nitric acid. It's kind of dangerous, but you can drop a little of that on it, and if it's gold, it'll just brighten up, and if it's something else, it'll turn green.
But there is a lot of fool's gold up there.
Oh, yes, there certainly isn't a lot of fools out looking for it.
Are there? It is the biggest weekend adventure in America right now, isn't it? The rivers are just filled with people, aren't they?
The last year in California, there was a gold prospector every 30 feet down the Yuba River, and the state of California run out of dredge permits. The Fish and Game Department.
Now, can you still establish claims like you used to be able to in the old days?
Yes, you can, but it's pretty difficult now, and it's kind of frowned on because a lot of people don't understand the mining laws, and there's been a lot of abuse of the mining laws in recent years. People go out and think they can establish a mining claim and live on the land and not do any mining, and that's not what it was set up for. And so the BLM and the Forest Service, that's the Bureau of Land Management's got their hands full.
Is there any old-type Western violence out there yet, or is everybody kind of cool?
Yes, there certainly is.
Are they bopping each other over the head with shovels? It's shocking.
It is, really.
Have you been bopped?
No.
Have you done the bopping?
No, I haven't had to.
Where do you pan?
Two different places, on the upper St. Joe River in Idaho and on the Stanislaus River in California, and a big portion of the Stanislaus is open.
Right. Now, anything else you want to point out? Except for what are these huge things here? Oh, my word.
Those are nuggets. Some of those are from California and some are from up in the Yukon, and like the piece that you have in your hand is worth well over $15,000 because they're really rare.
But isn't that that's not a nugget you found?
Oh, yes, that's a nugget. It come right out of the stream like
that?
Laying down on bedrock,
Just like that. It was sitting there.
And this one here, Merv, is a whole bunch of small nuggets that were actually mashed together over a period of time that they were in the stream.
What's that worth?
That is priceless. We don't really know what it's worth. I don't think we'd sell it either.
Now, what else is there here that we should really know about? What is this, for example, with all the little vials?
This stuff here is from Idaho, this fine stuff, and some of the stuff that's in the bottles. And
can you see
the guys separate it this way and put it in their bottles when they find it.
See, that'd be an awful tipping over.
This is kind of the flour gold. This is the stuff that people throw away because they don't think it's worthless. And each one of those little tiny flakes, you see, there's 480 grains to an ounce. And so each grain of gold at $700 an ounce or whatever it is now is worth $1.25 or $1.50. So each little tiny speck, if you can see it, it's worth $1.
But does it look like that?
Yes, that's exactly the way it looks.
But what's it in when it looks like?
It's in black sand.
See, first of all, you got to go out and look for black sand.
No, when you
don't.
When you pan your material down and you concentrate it down, you'll see the black sand. And the rule of thumb doesn't make any more sense than the last thing that I just told you. It's this, is that where you find gold, you almost always find black sand, but where you find black sand, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to find gold.
Do you believe that bit of philosophy that says it's ridiculous because all the gold has been mined in America?
I hope everybody else believes it because it's not true.
Really?
No, less than 5% of the available gold's ever been taken out. You know, Major Downey, the guy they named Downeyville after, wrote an interesting book, and in that book he described how the 49ers dug for it and how they separated the gold dust out and how they take the gold dust down to pay for their beans, and it's much the same as it is today.
So there is a lot of gold out there.
There is really a lot. To find a large nugget is really rare. I would imagine that in the 1850s they found a lot more than's being found today, but then there were a lot more miners out looking too.
Show us, George, now, for this coming weekend, if we all go out panning, what we should do.
Well,
we'll say this bucket is the river.
Okay, the first thing you want to do is to be sure that you keep your pan under the water and keep a semi-liquid condition, because if you bring your pan up above the water, the material will lock in and it gets tight and it's hard to put your finger down through it. But if you keep it kind of, shook up, and women make better gold panners, don't let them get you wet. Than men, because they're usually nervous, especially so when they're out in the woods.
Yeah, right.
And, the prospectors we were talking about a while ago. Okay, so I'll just kind of go through this fashion. It is slicing around, but maybe we'll find some in here. I put some in this pan.
There is gold in that pan?
Yes. So we should find some.
Well, how do you know what you're throwing away right now? You might be throwing away gold.
Oh, no. The gold is heavy. It's twice as heavy as lead. So it'll sink to the bottom almost immediately.
Yes.
And the tiny flakes will go down. Now, so if you keep it under the water like I'm doing here, it'll go right on down to the bottom, and you can just kind of run that off. And the gold is on the bottom, and I'll show you. We can just kind of dump it off. Now, what you see there is a lot of lead shot, because this come right out of the river, and you'll see a lot of that as well. I'll just dump it back. And this is what we call a tailing or fanning action. If there's any gold in there, we should see it. See all those little tiny pieces?
Oh, my word, look at that. See, can you see? Can you show it this way, over here, this camera?
Well, let me water that way. Let me sand it a little bit here. Once you pick that one out there.
That's a nice little nugget. See that? That's a little piece of gold in my hand. Isn't that good? Sure, that really is.
That's some of the stuff that you find in with it, because this gravel come right out of the stream up there. We just took it and dumped it.
So all the equipment you need is a big pan, and that looks like an old hubcap.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what else do you need?
Chinese hat.
Oh, it's Chinese hat.
It's a Chinese hat.
And then what else do you need? A picker, a
pair of
shovel?
tweezers, a bottle to put it in, a magnifying glass so you can see those little 50-cent flakes, because they're smaller than what you can see.
Yeah.
And you pick them out and put them in your bottle. What we recommend is that a guy bring that concentrate home and clean it when he's at home, and not try to do it out there when the wind's blowing. And
what can you honestly make on a weekend if you're lucky?
you're not going to believe me when I tell you, but without being too lucky, you can make between $400 and $1,600 a weekend if you work at it.
George, I'll join you at the Stanislaus River this weekend. We'll be there together. George Masters. Thank you, George. We'll be right back with Stevie Myers. Yes.